Holler. Oh, that's weird.
That was Judah. That was not me. That was Judah.
Heaven forbid Jerry should be embarrassed. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the I Love Seville show. We are happy to be coming to you live today from the I Love Seville studios. This is Judah Wickower.
We started on time today.
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
I mean, that's something to celebrate for us.
Yeah.
We're on time. Oh, man. A lot to cover on today's program, ladies and gentlemen. We'll put the... Is today's show the Carlton Mobile Home Park? Are we going to finally put it behind us now?
No.
Does it leave the news cycle now?
No. I think it's going to be in the news cycle for at least the next 3 years.
Well, no.
At which point we're going to resume talking about...
It gets back in the news cycle when the 3-year window where they're not going to kick the trailer parks out. And then it stays out of the news cycle for 3 years, and 36 months or after the 3-year window, it gets back in the news cycle because you know the folks in the trailer is going to be like, they're kicking us out. They're kicking us out. Right?
Possibly.
Don't you think that's what's going to happen?
It could be back in the news cycle before then, though. What was it? What was that I read? Each council is going to be voting on whether to pay this money, the amounts that are being released yearly.
Yeah, this is bananas. Take a look at the screen, guys. A lot we're going to cover. Sean Tubbs. I hope Sean Tubbs is watching the program right now. Sean Tubbs has a fantastic Substack article on his Charlottesville Substack on this. It was just loaded with information and tidbits. Sean Tubbs is fantastic at what he does professionally. I'm going to ask you this question. 0 East High Street in Wendell Wood, did that set a model or an example of how future property owners could drive value for their properties by using the city of Charlottesville as a potential buyer? That's a great one to unpack, Judah. Mm-hmm. It's the Thursday edition of the I Love Seville show. Do us a favor and like and share the show. We'll explain our theories here. How about this tidbit? In 2019, real estate taxes generated in the city of Charlottesville a whopping $72.6 million. In 2024, real estate taxes generated $106.8 million, Judah. How would you characterize that? 5 years? You're talking an obscene increase?
Yeah, at a time when everything is increasing.
This is what's gentrifying the city. This is what's creating affordability issues. So much to cover on today's program. Judah Wickower, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Good Thursday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love Seville show. It's great to be with you on what looks like is going to be, 2 or 3 days of deluge, Judah? Downpour?
Deluge.
It goes an entire summer. We go an entire summer without rain. We're in drought-like conditions. And in a 48-hour period, we make up for those drought-like conditions with inclement weather that would terrify Noah and his ark. Right?
Or even Evan.
Almighty?
Yeah.
That was a good one, Judah. That was a good one. So much to cover on the program. We work hard for you. The only thing we ask in return is you like and share the show and join us in the discussion. I'm going to ask this question or just paint a scenario for you. Wendellwood and Zero East High Street. A conversation Judah and I were having, a conversation I was having in direct message capacity with Deep Throat, who watches this program. Zero East High Street, Wendellwood, the apartments down by the river, 245 units that were proposed or talked about to be built in a floodplain. Was that the model? Is that the model or an example of how landowners and potentially developers can fleece or bamboozle the city into spending your dollars, my dollars, taxpayer resources to drive value and in turn make things more expensive in our community? We'll talk about that today. We'll ask this question. When the city loans $8.7 million, $8,700,000 to Habitat and Piedmont Housing Alliance to buy trailer parks and 6 acres on Carlton, what or how will these nonprofits repay this $8.7 million loan? Or is this going to be a gift, Judah? Will this eventually just be chalked up as a gift and called for the goodwill of the community? I have this question for you. That first offer that came in, the $7 million offer to buy the trailer park,
Yeah.
how genuine and legitimate was that offer? We don't know who the buyer was. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen the contract to purchase. All we know is some scuttlebutt from the property owners that someone is willing to spend $7 million to buy it. Did anyone see the offer? And should us as taxpayers who are floating, who are creating, who are the revenue for this loan, should we have seen that offer? Mm-hmm. We'll also talk on today's program the 2019 revenue generated in the city of Charlottesville through real estate, which was $72.6 million, and the 2024 revenue generated through city real estate, which is now a whopping $106.8 million. Sean Tubbs' Charlottesville Community Substack, the August 7th edition, one of the best I have read. Sean Tubbs, props to you. I hope you walk in front of the studio today. We'll give you more props, my friend. We want to give some attention to Pro Renata. They were on the show yesterday. The founder, the head brewer, a new partner and owner in Pro Renata, former UVA wide receiver and NFL wide receiver Joe Reed, and Brian Combs was on the show as well. Dr. John Shea brought his team, his lieutenants to the program. Pro Renata, they're moving the brewery equipment out of the Crozet location. The Crozet location is going to have more of a sports bar feel. They're going to be brewing beer at the location at Skipping Rock, where they purchased the assets of the now defunct brewery, spent almost $1 million on brewery equipment, and they're going to significantly uptick production to provide beer for a sports bar in Crozet, for their downtown Stanton operation, and now their operation at Skipping Rock Brewery. This brand is booming. Love the interview with Dr. John Shabe in Pro Renata. Support the businesses that were birthed in the community that are local, that are growing, and Pro Renata certainly is one of those. Let's weave Judah Wickower in on a two-shot. We'll highlight Neil Williamson watching the program, Lonnie Murray watching the program, Kyle Miller watching the program, Juan Sarmiento watching the program, local media watching us, Judah Wickower, as we speak. A lot we're going to cover. My friend, you and I are in our pre-production meeting. We're talking about Wendellwood. Mm-hmm. We were talking Zero East High Street, a property, according to the Charlottesville GIS. I'm looking at the GIS right now. One of Wendellwood's LLCs, one of his subsidiaries, Southern Ventures, Inc., has owned Zero East High Street since 1981. Mm-hmm. In 1981, Wendellwood purchase 0 East High Street for $195,245. From 1981 until Thanksgiving of last year, Wendell has done very little with this dirt. Why has he done very little with this dirt? Well, it sits in a floodplain. We're talking 22.8 acres in a floodplain. Mm-hmm. You had the fair there at one time, but for the most part, it's just been what the community thought was a utility land by the river that they could walk their dogs, that they could enjoy when walking along the banks of the Rivanna for enjoyment, for leisure. Then a conversation happens. That conversation leads to the makings of a deal. And that deal was with friend of the program, Bo Carrington, and his company, 7 Development. Mm-hmm. Bo Carrington, local boy who's had success from the Covenant School to Duke University, where he played lacrosse, a master's in business at the Darden at the University of Virginia. Now Bo, a talented developer, his company, 7 Development. They had plans in place to build 245 apartments over 3 apartment towers on land within the floodplain. Folks around the community, residents along East High Street, protested loudly. As many in this community do, they organized, strategized, and galvanized. One group said 0 East High Street, the infrastructure, the roadway, is not set up for 245 units. This is a travesty. We don't have the infrastructure in place. And they organize, galvanize, and strategize to keep the project from coming to market. Another group did the same, but from a different angle. They organized, galvanized, and strategized and said, this is a floodplain. This will flood. This makes no sense. You don't build 245 apartments in a floodplain. And then a third group said this: building apartments by the river will significantly impact the river and what it has to offer to city and county residents alike. They speak to the environmental impact it would have on the Rivanna. So 3 different attacks. We saw with 0 East High Street, the city of Charlottesville jump in. Michael Payne led the charge. Like Michael Payne is leading the charge here with the Carlton Mobile Home Park. And they said, despite the new zoning ordinance, despite the fact that we have spent years modifying a document that determines where housing goes, the density of housing, changing that document, much to the disappointment and chagrin of residents in this community. We have a new zoning ordinance that allows density. We can't have it on the banks of the Rivanna. And we can't have it because of infrastructure concerns with the neighborhood, because of flooding concerns, and because of the environmental damage it could have with our precious river. So the city jumped in and they made an offer to purchase. They took land that was in a floodplain and they gave Wendell Wood $5,900,000. Land that he purchased on the 31st of December in 1981, according to the GIS, for $195,245. Mr. Wood is sharp, largest landowner in Albemarle County, United Land Company. He's got a mansion on a mountain overlooking Charlottesville and Albemarle County as if he's Dr. Seuss. You asked, I wondered, Deep Throat pondered. Was 0 East High Street the model for bamboozling and fleecing the city for future projects? We can put in the news cycle, in the narrative, development, housing. This is what's coming. And the city's going to jump in and offer a boatload of money, $5,900,000, taxpayer resources, and just keep the project from happening, despite the new zoning ordinance coming to fruition earlier this year. Then we saw with the Carlton Mobile Home Park, and Judah, you jump in here, the Bolton family. Currently, the Bolton family, I don't know them from Adam, I don't know them from Eve. They've accepted an offer from Piedmont Housing Alliance and Habitat for Humanity, an offer funded by you, the viewer and listener, of $7,250,000. The Bolton family put in the news cycle, in the narrative, because it's the law when it comes to trailer parks, we have an offer from somebody for $7 million. I haven't seen that offer. You haven't seen that offer. No one in the media has seen that offer. Has City Hall seen the offer? Have councilors seen the offer? What do we know about this $7 million offer? Outside of the fact that the Bolton family put on the public record that $7 million is being offered to us by an anonymous party. And now the clock ticks, ticks, ticks. How will the community respond to save, is it 67 trailers, 67 families that live in mobile homes on a 6-acre parcel? How will the community respond? It's Charlottesville. They're going to respond this way. We got to save them. We got to fight for our right for affordable housing. And in 66 homes, and Judah, in a New York minute, or should I say, in a Charlottesville nanosecond, 2 nonprofit developers meet with the trailer park residents, garner 25% plus support from the residents for them to pursue a path, the nonprofit developers, as the new or potential buyers for the 6 acres. Then, in a Charlottesville nanosecond, they somehow get the city, who spent years trying to get a new zoning ordinance from draft to new, spent decades on the Belmont Bridge, have spent decades with the albatross that is the Dewberry Hotel, decades on the John Warner Parkway, decades on the West Main Streetscape project. But in a couple of weeks, they can structure a deal that is what? $8,700,000 loan to PHA and Habitat for Humanity, 7.25 going to the Bolton family, the remaining 1.5 going to debt service and interest payments. That deal can be done over a cup of coffee at the Mud House that quickly. I think they're fair questions that you, the taxpayer, should ask as well. Did Zero East High Street create a model for future landowners to use, a blueprint to follow of driving land value with the city as a potential rescue buyer at an elevated price? Remember, the initial offer was $7 million. The family just got $7,250,000. That's $250,000. That's $250,000 more than they were offered. Is the city the lifeline for people who want more value for the property they hold? Second question, was the initial offer, the first offer, genuine and legitimate? Third question, how will Habitat and PHA repay an $8.7 million taxpayer loan? Next question, the money needed in 36 months to develop the 66 trailers into 180 units, where is that money going to come from? And last question, how will future city councils, the ones that aren't on the dais now, address or manage this loan to two nonprofits? Will it eventually be turned into a gift, much to the back-breaking burden of taxpayers? That's my monologue. Viewers and listeners, your thoughts. Judah Wickower, jump in.
I don't know if Zero East High Street has become the model so much as perhaps it showed a chink in the city's armor. It showed a vulnerability to how would I put it? Not so much crying wolf, but if a project causes too many problems or too much of an outcry, city council seems primed to jump on solving it through monetary means, and who knows? It could be people poking the bear, looking for a response. Like you said, we honestly don't know anything about the initial offer, the first offer to the Bolton family regarding the Carlton Park. So yeah, considering how much over the assessed land value the first offer was, could this have been just a test? Like, hey, let's try this out, see what happens, scare some people in mobile homes, draw on the sympathy, the empathy of some of these nonprofit groups.
Leverage the politics and the activism of a small portion of the community that's become what appears to be the vocal majority of the community.
Yeah, it's
utilize a narrative or leverage the news cycle to get more money at the closing table.
Well, you can't say more money.
They got $250,000 more. The city's paying $7.25 million. The initial offer they said is $7 million. That's $250,000 more for the family.
I know, but you can't allege that there's a fake offer and then say that the family's getting more money. They're getting money in the first place. If there was no offer, then there's no more or less. I would say that if, and this is a big if,
and we don't know because we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Sean hasn't seen it. Neil hasn't seen it. Daily Progress hasn't seen it. Seville Tomorrow hasn't seen it. And Sean, the Daily Progress, and Seville Tomorrow have done extensive reporting. In any of that reporting, has anyone said, show me the offer?
It's a good question.
Has anyone seen the offer for $7 million? Trust but verify. Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Trust but verify. I want to see the offer.
Yeah. So the point is, there is no more or less. If there was no offer and they bamboozled the city, they made out like bandits. But it's not more or less. They just made a hefty chunk of money.
I also asked this question: why the jump to 7.25, and not an offer of 7 even, and utilize this tactic? Hey, Bolton family, we'll give you the exact same number that you got from this anonymous source, the exact same number. Please work with us so we can save these families, and this will cement your legacy in the history of Charlottesville.
Wasn't there?
There was a kicker. There was
a hint of yeah.
There was a hint of an escalator penalty. That if they did not take the initial offer, there would have been a penalty. So that's probably why the 7.25.
Yeah, they probably wanted to make it high enough that it was an attractive offer, high enough that whoever this, whoever the first offer was from, might not. I don't know how this works. Would the company have time to come back with a counter offer?
That's a great question as well. That's a very good question. If this 7 million, this is a great question for you, John Blair. Great question for you, Deep Throat. Anyone else watching the program? Lonnie Murray, great question for you. Neil Williamson, great question for you. If this initial offer of 7 million actually was reality, could that 7 million counter the 7.25 from the city?
Yeah. Could they come back with a second offer? I don't know.
Could they beat the 7.25 offer?
Yeah.
It's a great question. This is what I do know. That at Zero East High Street, land that was initially purchased in 1981 by Wendell Wood for $195,000 was sold over Thanksgiving of last year to the city of Charlottesville for $5,900,000. That's a hell of a return. This was land that was in a floodplain that pretty much was only used for a circus. As Bill McChesney calls it, what'd you call it, Bill? You called it a circus grounds, a place for clowns. They took the circus grounds, a place for clowns, and they converted it into 5.9 million by saying or managing a narrative that they were going to put 245 apartments there.
Speaking of which, let's entertain the idea that there was an offer, whether or not it was an honest offer. If you had this view of the city and the city council, what if you were so sure that the city would jump at the chance to save the trailer park,
Which we knew Michael Payne would.
and the tenants? What if you constructed a $7 million offer with the purpose of getting? I mean, let's say, how much would they be? How much would the Boltons be liable if they chose another offer? Obviously, since we don't have anything but the $7 million price tag, we don't know what is in the contract, the offer. So, what if the sole purpose of providing the offer was just to make the money on the what's them refusing the offer and taking another one? If I write up a contract saying, if you refuse this offer, you pay me $500,000.
That's a hell of a risk. If you
Yeah.
write up a contract and you say, I'm going to offer you $7 million, and your game plan is to get a $250,000 or $200,000 penalty if the offer's not accepted, that's a hell of a risk. I don't see someone making a $7 million risk for a $200,000 reward. I see the point that you're making here.
I mean, but isn't it quite a risk to fake an entire offer itself?
We'll go to. You're on point today.
Thank you.
You know this. You've done your homework. You're on point today. First, let's go to some comments here. Let's go to Deep Throat. Number one in the family. He says he thinks Piedmont Housing Alliance and Habitat for Humanity will take out this loan with a LIHTC loan where they do construction project there, and possibly they sell a piece of the land to Southern Development like they did in Southwood. He also says probably some amount of this loan will be forgiven by future councils.
Yeah.
He also says, or taken out with subsequent grants or loans from the city. And he says, Judah's point was the point I was trying to make. How did the counter offer get accepted so damn fast? Wouldn't you expect some wrangling, some countering? Like if the Bolton family got $7,250,000 from the city, wouldn't they then give the initial offer, if it was a legitimate initial offer and a legitimate initial buyer, wouldn't they take, like any real estate owner would?
Yeah.
I got $7 million here, apparently.
Right.
I got $7,250,000 over here. You want a top 725? It's 735.
You
745
got a
here.
counter for
750
that?
over there. Head in the back.
Yeah.
735. Why wasn't there some kind of count? Why?
And if somebody came along and wanted to offer $7 million for, something that was worth a third of that, I think, less than a third of that, wouldn't they have a plan? And if they had a plan, you would think that they'd spent a lot of money on the plan, and they would want to make a counteroffer.
Judah's on point today. Deep Throat closes with this. In his line of work, if you get an instant, okay, done, we have a deal, then you've just done ducked up. Quack, 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 quack. It happened too quick.
Mm-hmm.
Something stinks. Or at least it's fishy.
Yeah, no doubt.
And as taxpayers who are funding this loan to nonprofit developers, we have a right to ask these questions.
Yeah.
We have
No
a
doubt.
right to ask these questions. We have a right to see the initial offer. Did it even come up during a council meeting? Has anyone seen the initial offer?
Yeah.
Or did the city just get played? Like Wendell Wood played the city on Zero East High Street, taking floodplain and turning it into 5.9 million.
I hate to bring this up, but could this be the city or someone in the city? Let's say someone says, look, something's got to happen with this trailer park. But we don't want to displace all these people. We need to come up with a plan. Well, why not set a fire under some people's butts, move this along by scaring the trailer park, the people that live there, and making the whole thing seem like a decision that needs to be made right away. And I mean, I don't know. I think we're getting into conspiracy theory territory here with some of our.
Asking to see the initial offer is
No.
not conspiracy theory.
No, definitely not.
That's due diligence, trust but verify. And until we see the initial offer, we have to wonder if the initial offer existed. This is a great point by John Blair. Listen to this. Number 2 in the family. He says, if you look at the Virginia Code, section 55-1308.2, it just says that the owner shall consider the city's offer. John Blair says, I suppose that the owner could ask the original offerer if they have a counter offer to the city's $7,250,000 offer. He also says this, which is a point that I should have made. I should have made this point. John, this is a fantastic point. He says, Jerry, the other data point to consider, since the original offer, we have seen a lot of thoughts and a lot of data that suggests the Federal Reserve is going to lower the lending rate by 100 to 175 basis points. John Blair says that should help the original offer and give them space to counter the city's offer even more. The money
good
is
point.
getting cheaper
Yeah.
because the lending environment is becoming more affordable.
Yeah, it's around 6.7 right now.
That's different for this kind of, that's on a 30-year fix with residential, single-family, personal property house purchase. This
Yeah.
is different.
Right. But
That's
it's
a damn good point. He says
Yeah.
now that initial $7 million, the debt service on that, if they need to take debt on it, is more affordable than it was when they floated the initial 7 to start.
Or you could make a higher offer but have the same debt service.
There it is. You're on point today. There it is. Something is off here.
I can see the owners of the park saying, "Look, we're going to take this offer because we're still making buku bucks, and we're not dumping all of our former tenants on the street, potentially within the year." But yeah, there is a lot to question about what's going on here.
And you asked the question about future councils.
Yeah.
Make the point you were making in pre-production.
We've talked about the fact that oftentimes, I believe Keith Smith, the inimitable Keith Smith, has made the point several times on his show that, and I could be wrong about this, but that a lot of the non what's the word I'm looking for?
I have no idea what you're saying. How am I supposed to know the word you're looking
A
for?
lot of the nonprofits around town
Nonprofit.
end up getting loans that end up not having to be repaid, which
They start off as
basically-
loans.
Yeah, they start off as a loan. Eventually,
then they get forgiven.
They're forgiven because everybody knows they're not going to repay them, and it's not like we're trying to bring down nonprofits who are, in a lot of cases, doing a lot of good. But does this down the road become a gift?
We need to talk about some of the dynamics of the loan. Sean Tubbs has got a fantastic Substack out on this.
Yeah. And I definitely, and I mentioned this to you earlier, I very much appreciate what Vice Mayor Brian Pinkston had to say on the subject, in that and he says, if I'm being honest, I see this as offsetting potentially some other investment. So I appreciate the fact that this isn't just like, oh, hey, here's another, $8.7 million to pile on the backs of the taxpayers.
But who pushed back on Pinkston there?
Payne.
Michael Payne pushed back on Pinkston there.
I don't know that he was necessarily pushing back.
Oh,
was
come
he?
on now.
You could interpret it that way, but I know.
His
I know.
pedigree and track record, he's pushing back on that. And Michael Payne's eyes, he would do as many of these deals as possible every year. And you know that's a fact. Formerly worked for Habitat for Humanity, Michael Payne. From everything we've been told, still lives at his parents' house.
I'm not sure what that has to do with anything.
You're not sure what that... I'll let the viewers and listeners determine if that has anything to do with anything. City councilor. Let the viewers and listeners make that determination on their own. We don't have to go down that road. You don't like when I go down that road.
I mean, there's some interesting implications there, but there's also the fact that we've talked about no matter if you did raise the pay of the city councilors, it still wouldn't be a job that is viable if that's your only job. And I've heard other people make the
Not till 2027 will the 34K
Right.
happen. It's 18 now, and then mayor will jump from 20 to 37,000. Not till 2027. Keep making your point.
Yeah. And I've heard other people discussing the matter talk about the fact that it would be nice if city council were open to a larger swath of people and that we weren't just getting doctors and lawyers. And in point of fact, we currently have a city councilor who is not a doctor or a lawyer and seems to be making this his main career.
And a previous two-term mayor was a part-time worker with the Parks and Recs Department. That's Nakia Walker.
Yeah.
Rob Schilling, what did he do for work?
I don't know what you did when you would. Does
It
it?
wasn't deep pockets.
Right.
Was not deep pockets. The theory that we're not getting diversity on council, I'm not completely buying it.
I'm not completely buying it either.
We have a
but
extremely
when you
young
make-
millennial living with his parents. It's a two-term counselor.
When you continue to make comments about him living with his parents, he's perhaps. What else would he do?
Get another job. Or a second job. Or a third job. Like everybody else does.
Okay.
Work 60 or 70 hours a week. Like I do. Multiple people in the dais have said this is a part-time job, including Lloyd Snook. Part-time jobs, not full-time hours. I think you've made some fantastic points today.
Thank you.
We need to ask these questions.
definitely.
Now we've seen 2 bailouts by the city. We saw Zero East High Street bailout, city buying it.
Yeah.
We saw Carlton Mobile Home, city buying it. If I'm Chris Henry, Phase 3, Dairy Market, backlash from the 10th and Page neighborhood.
Yeah.
If you build this apartment tower on a pothole-ridded asphalt parking lot, and if you knock down our neighborhood laundromat and you replace the used car lot and you build more housing, it's going to screw us and gentrify us.
I still don't understand any of the arguments against that, but
I thought it was compelling commentary on how the additional housing would actually prevent pressure on 10th and Page neighborhood.
yeah, you would think. Did they? I don't know.
If I'm Chris Henry, I do this. Oh, wow, I just saw Wendell Wood get $5.9 million for 22 acres in a floodplain. And I just saw the Bolton family take 6 acres that was assessed at, what, $2.6 million?
Something like that.
And sell it to the city for $7,250,000. Good night. I see a blueprint here. I'm going to build these apartment towers. I can do it anyway. These folks are going to get up in arms.
And then the city will buy
And then the city's going to come in and he's going to buy my asphalt parking lot and my laundromat and my used car dealership, and I'm not going to do any work, and I'm going to sell it for $10 million.
let someone else deal with the headache.
And then let the city deal with it. Why wouldn't he do that?
Why wouldn't he?
Why wouldn't he do that?
Yeah. After the Phase 3 got nixed, I'd want to drop that from my portfolio.
Why wouldn't he do that? Chris, build the apartments. Put it in the news cycle that you're going to build the apartments. Then the backlash is going to mount, and that backlash is going to politic and bully council into buying your pothole-ridden parking lot. And you're going to get 8 figures. And you're going to do diddly. Couple of items from Sean Tubbs' Substack that I thought were fantastic. In 2019, Charlottesville City's land book listed 15,071 taxable properties that generated $72,657,974 in real property tax revenues. Mm-hmm. In 2024, the land book on April 1 listed 15,114 parcels, bringing in $104,649,940. Then Sean Tubbs reports, the 2024 number went up 2 weeks later when City Council increased the real estate tax rate from 96 cents per 100 of assessed value to 98 cents per 100 of assessed value. That brought in an additional $2,187,207. So from 2019, Judah Wickower, 2019, you had $72,657,974 in tax revenue tied to real estate. Let's just call that $72.6 million. Mm-hmm. In 2024, after the real estate tax rate increase, you had $106.8 million. We're talking a delta, ladies and gentlemen, I have to do some quick math on here, of $34.2 million.
And only, 43 more parcels?
That's the statistic that I want to highlight. God, you be like this every day. You're on point today. On point today. In 5 years, a $34.2 million jump.
Yeah.
In 5 years, that's roughly half of the revenue generated in 2019. The jump alone.
Yeah.
And here's something I really want to highlight. You talk about extra density. What extra density? In 2019, 15,071 properties. In 2024, 15,114.
Yeah.
That's 44 additional properties in 5 years.
Yeah.
We're talking 8 a year.
Right.
That's bupkis. Is that Yiddish?
I think so.
There's the Yiddish word of the day. People asking Judah Wickhauer to bring back the Yiddish word of the day.
Oh, man. There's only so many fun Yiddish words.
I thought you were going to use one right there.
No.
Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? In a 5-year period of time, the city is generating $34.2 million additional dollars through taxes on real estate.
Mm-hmm.
What is that money being used for? Where is that money going? Have we considered utilizing that extra revenue as a reprieve for you and me, for all of us, in the taxes we pay?
To be fair, they do have.
What are you going to say? Additional costs associated with human capital over that 5-year period of time?
No, I was going to say they do have tax assistance programs.
That are terribly promoted and marketed,
I never said they weren't.
that many folks don't know about,
Yeah.
that went out late because of the post office is a wreck.
All true.
Ask these questions. Please ask the questions we're asking. Please. Mr. Henry, build the project on the asphalt parking lot and see if the lifeline is offered to you. Not that you guys need it. They did it for Wendell. They did it for the Boltons. They may do it for you. And if they don't do it for him on Preston with Phase 3 Dairy Market, can you imagine the outrage? You purchase land along East High Street in a historically white neighborhood to keep the development from happening.
Yeah. But you won't protect
On a historically white neighborhood.
You won't protect the 10th and Page neighborhood.
But you won't protect the historically black neighborhood by purchasing the land like you did in the historically white neighborhood. You don't think that would come into the narrative?
And very well might.
Especially with the folks that were at that community forum meeting where Chris got verbally assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
The folks verbally assaulting him, you know they would play it that way.
Yeah.
And then look at the corner the city's backed itself into. The city's backed itself into a quagmire. We set a precedent on 0 East High Street, and then we doubled down on that precedent in Belmont. Do we have to triple down on that precedent on 10th and Page? And if we don't, the optics are horrible.
Yeah.
They're horrible optics. There's your blueprint. Do no building and collect 8 figures. If floodplain land can get 5.9, what's the most valuable acreage on one of the key corridors with
Smack dab in the center of
15,000
Charlottesville.
cars driving by it every day get?
Mm-hmm.
When that same parcel on Preston An appraisal can be done with what could be built literally next door. The apartment towers
Yeah.
in the building, and the rents, and the retail, and the $2,000 a month studios, and the $2,600 a month 2-bedrooms,
Yeah.
and the parking lot, and the revenue generating hourly to pay to park. I'm just going to do the same damn thing. This is the appraised value. You owe me this. I'm going to build it.
Won't take a penny less.
Not taking a penny less. If you don't do it, these folks are going to yell at you.
There's also a secret offer.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I have an anonymous, unnamed party that's offering me $13 million for this. And they want to build $900,000 McMansions.
They're going to build a giant bean pole. Jack and the Beanstalk.
Do you understand what they have done here?
Yeah, they've painted themselves into a corner, like you said. It's they started throwing around money to protect things, and now it may become expected. Not that I think Chris Henry will do anything like that.
Deep Throat says Chris's property for Dairy Market Phase 3 is easily $10 million.
Yeah.
Easily $10 million. That's the story that's not being told.
Mm-hmm.
Great comment from John Blair. I don't care what your politics are. I think everyone hopes that the government can provide some manner of lifting the less fortunate up. Why we should not be seeing the government making the super rich even richer, in my humble opinion. I think Mr. Wood's gotten quite rich. What was the Rivanna Futures? The property he sold, off-beaten property, forgotten property on the Greene County line in northern Albemarle County, 462 acres. How much did he sell for that acreage to Albemarle County for? Donna Price said the greatest economic development project in the history of the county saved the University of Virginia. What was the call? What did he sell those for? You remember?
No, I don't.
I should know this. I think it was like $48 or $58 million. I should know that. Disappointed in myself. $58 million. God, I was right. $58 million. Ask the questions. Ask the questions that we're asking. Neil Williamson, for what it's worth, the UVA Foundation, not UVA, pays full boat on its real estate holdings. Neil Williamson, Free Enterprise Forum. Support the Free Enterprise Forum. A-plus guy, Neil Williamson. If you were here, Neil, I'd give you a flying chest bump.
Stay far away, Neil. Stay far away.
Why? Chris, Phase 3 Dairy Market. Do it. Got $10 million coming your way. Oh, man. Anything else you want to add here? Any other news and notes that you think we should get out there? I thought you were phenomenal, exceptional today.
Thank you. I don't have anything more.
You want to throw in that tidbit that Greene County is banning cell phones in school?
Yep, Greene County is the next one. Off and away is what they're calling it.
Off and away? That's brilliant. It's a great tagline.
Yeah.
Anyone asking this question, why are Albemarle County Public Schools and Charlottesville Public Schools the last to ban cell phones during school hours? Why haven't they made that ban? Green and Orange have both done it. Don't be last. Don't be last to this party. Not this one. Please. They were first to the party on name changes.
Yeah.
Albemarle County and City of Charlottesville. Are they going to be last to the party on banning cell phones?
Probably.
Georgia Gilmer, what happened with the lawsuit against the city and upzoning? Is it still out there? Yes, it's still out there. Yes, it is. Yes, ma'am. Kyle Guy, hired by Tony Bennett and the University of Virginia. One of the most significant basketball players in UVA history. Perhaps on the Mount Rushmore of players, Kyle Guy. That Mount Rushmore starts with Ralph Sampson. That Mount Rushmore, Wally Walker. On that Mount Rushmore. That Mount Rushmore probably has the All-American and the two-time All-ACC performer, Kyle Guy, on it as well, because of his heroics in leading the University of Virginia to its only basketball national championship. He is now returning after a 5-year professional career, 3 in the NBA, 2 across the pond, to the University of Virginia in the John Paul Jones Arena, but as a coach on Tony Bennett's staff. This was a brilliant hire by a brilliant man in Tony Bennett. He invigorates the program with youth and a known brand, and he does it at a time when the program has stagnated some. This invigorates the fan base, and he adds human capital to a sideline that needs offensive acumen, and that's what Kyle Guy has in spades. So props to Bennett, props to the Guy family, his wife and kids, and welcome back to Charlottesville, Kyle Guy. This is monumentally significant. This is the Thursday edition of the I Love Seville show, a show that was carried by Judah B. Wickower today. He carried the show. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody.